filtering. I am Carl. I am an alcoholic addict, and my sobriety is August 22nd, 2014.
I'm Lindsey. I'm an alcoholic, and my sobriety date is September 6th, 2015.
And this is SoberPod.
SoberPod.com. Yeah, SoberPod, keep it authentic, no facades. If it's real, then you know it's ours. Welcome.
And SoberPod is a podcast dedicated to the idea that one addict or alcoholic helping another is crucial to building a life in recovery. Join us this season as we read from our books, and today we are reading from 366 Effing Days Sober, and I'm sure that we will be referencing Lindsey's book, The Spirit Vigilante, and you can get both books by going to either SoberPod.com or thespiritvigilante.com. And by the way, when you purchase these books, it's probably the best way to support not only yourselves, but the podcast. That's where we both win. We have exchange of information. We have a little exchange for money. And so what happens is like that is the best way to support us in our efforts in providing this podcast for free. So by all means, please go purchase those books. And then if you're there at the website and you want to grow and go a little bit more, Lindsey has a bunch of offerings. SoberPod has a bunch of offerings. I implore you to go check those things out and connect. That's about it. Oh, and by the way, I do want to just throw this out here because I'm really thinking about doing this. Lindsey, do you remember the thing that I sent you about having people connect into their own podcast? So, so dear readers and listeners, what I'm going to do in the near future, and I still have to do it, so it's not done yet. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect two anonymous people. Well, you can remain as anonymous as you want, right? To get together and ask each other questions and get to know one another in recovery or around sobriety. So basically, what it'll be is I'll set up a room. You two will come in, whoever is picked or chosen, and then you'll be able to ask each other questions and get to know one another and do your own little podcast around recovery. So it'll be in addition to the podcast that we normally do. So look for that down the road. If you're listening in the future, because that's where you are right now, go to SoberPod.com to learn more about participating in our SoberPod Connect series.
So when you say as anonymous as you want, are we going to have voice changers and potato filters and
No, that's a good question though. That's a good question. So the requirement will be that you will be on video. So there's that. So It is as anonymous as you want, meaning you don't have to share your actual name. You can just say Jane or John Doe or whatever. And then, you can not talk about your location or talk about your location. You know what I mean? You can just say, yeah, I don't want to talk about that. But the idea will be to get together to help inspire and motivate other people in recovery. It'll give you a chance, even if you had 30 days sober, it'll give you a chance to get on and tell your story and share with another person and connect with another person. Hopefully,
I'm excited.
It'll be interesting. Yeah,
I'm excited for that. Cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little kind of sink or swim moments, trial by fire kind of stuff for me, because I really don't know what to expect out of it, and I think that's kind of the interesting part. I mean, it could be totally lame, and you just connect with somebody who's just who gets on and just starts talking about their cat or something,
I have a lot going through my mind. I'm thinking of dating apps. If this turns into a place to meet people, I don't know. I have a lot going on.
Well, let me just say, I will be producing the room, so I will be there to watch.
Okay, good.
And stop anything that might happen that could be weird. That I don't want recorded.
It's like speed dating sobriety.
Yeah, exactly. So I will be there in
I think it'll be
kind of like the man behind the curtain in the room, just to make sure that nothing gets too weird or funky.
And it's not going to be live streamed.
No, thank God. Yeah, all you'll see is like those color bars that come up, and you'll hear that tone.
Right.
Be like,
yes.
that didn't go well. That just went off the rails.
The colors. Oh, that's so good.
So what do you think about the idea of connecting to anonymous like people? Like somebody even could like have like 30 years and you could connect with somebody who has like 3 months. Like I think
it's great. I think it's going to be awesome. I'm excited to facilitate that.
Yeah, so head on over to SoberPod.com and see if the information is there. If it's not there yet, that just means that it's not happening quite yet. But yeah, just keep listening for those announcements, and we'll go through that. Okay, Lindsey, what have you been doing this week? What's been going on?
Not a whole lot. Taylor Swift's album came out a couple weeks
yeah, I've been waiting for that. Like I've been like
I know
totally,
you have.
Yeah.
I know.
When that dropped, I totally like we had a party. All my girlfriends came over, and we had a cake and some pizza.
I trust you had a listening party for it.
Totally.
Yeah. So that's
we're all dancing around in our negligees, and we're naming our teddy bears, and it was just really beautiful. Just beautiful.
That's what Swifties do. They name their teddy bears.
We had a bunch of bracelets and stuff, friendship bracelets.
I don't have mine on. They always rattle, but I have my bracelets right here. Showgirl.
Oh my dear Lord, you do.
And then wish list. Yep.
Oh my dear Lord.
If anyone wants to know more about that, they can go to my Instagram. I have a whole reel on it. So anyway, that's been something fun and exciting in my life. Recently, and then over the weekend I went to a pumpkin patch, and we had an open house for the wellness studio that I run. So
yeah, I saw like some more posts for your videos on this stuff. It looks like you're doing such an awesome thing, and you're like building this whole like little like mental health, physical life kind of a thing. I think it's wonderful. It's like it's beautiful to watch online. I wish I was local so I could visit. That would be awesome.
I know. Next
time,
time
it's super interesting to watch what you're doing, like just at this distance, just to see like you put like just making wellness and whether it be mental health or physical part of your your commerce or your life or your business. I think is really interesting. I think it's something that like I don't know if I could do it. I feel like I still need some radicalness in my life. Like I still love a certain amount of dysfunction.
But you're doing it with SoberPod.
Yeah, but I still love my dysfunction. You know what I mean? I still love my chaos.
Got it. You're holding on to that.
Yeah.
How about you? What's with you?
Oh my gosh. Okay, here's the best part. This is the best. So when you get sober, you really you start changing your like hobbies. I've talked about it before, doing improv and comedy and stuff like that. So I've been taking classes for like a year and some change for improv. So I've gone through like all these series of classes, and it has been just the best experience. And then so there was auditions. So we had our showcase for our final class on last Saturday, and then there was auditions on Sunday to join the troupe. And it's basically, I mean, I consider it kind of like the C troupe, not the B troupe, not the A troupe, right? It's the C troupe. That's how I see it. And if anybody's listening that thinks that they're like the Tuesday troupe is not that, I'm sorry. That's how I perceive it. So and it's just, I think it's just really like more or less the training ground. So I auditioned and I got in. So did a bunch of our other classmates. So that's pretty awesome. That so many wonderful, talented people got picked to do this. I just had so I have done since Saturday. I have done every day improv since Saturday, which is kind of tiring, right?
Wow, yeah, because you have to be on.
You have to be on, and then it's like 2 to 3 hours every day of that for like the last 4 or 5 days has been just like, I think I need a break.
Yeah.
So getting the audition was great. Something I've been working towards. It was a major goal for myself, and then I'm also working on stand-up routines for I'm doing 5 minutes. Trying to do a stand-up routine, and it actually is based around recovery, which is kind of awesome. So if I ever do get that in my head and actually able to do it, well, maybe I'll do it on the podcast. Who knows? So
I
it's
love
been
that.
just interesting.
You know what's funny when you said it's about recovery? It just reminded me of an event that I have coming up on Sunday. So I'm in this like local authors group for a bookstore nearby, and they're having an event at a brewery, and it's called Books and Brews. And at first I was like, that's not appropriate. My book is about sobriety, but I'm going to do it because I think like, why not?
Well, that's just, it's kind of like comedy. And they say like, they say like, don't talk too poorly. Like, because when you're in bars doing comedy and all your whole bit is
Right.
about recovery, it's just kind of like defeats. But one of the things that you can do is like, you can poke a little fun at it, right?
And like maybe that's my demographic.
Well, I mean, it might totally be your demographic,
Right.
but the establishment is not gonna like look. They're gonna be like, oh yeah, great, like, and then as soon as you're done, they're gonna be like, hey, 2 more drinks, everybody, or something like that.
Yeah, so I'm doing it. It's anyone who's in there. It's a Baby Cat Brewery.
That's awesome.
In Kensington, Maryland. So
see, now I really wish I was local. What is it again? Give the
it's called, which just makes it so much better. It's called Baby Cat Brewery.
Okay, that's great.
I'll be dressed up as a cat. No, I'm just kidding. In Kensington, Maryland, this Sunday, October 19th, from 12:30 to 2:30 p.m. So I'll be selling and signing my books and just talking about it. I mean, my book's not solely about recovery. It doesn't necessarily even say get sober. It's just about your journey where I really meet you where you are. So
yeah, and I think that you can even clarify that with your audience there
before the brewery kicks you out.
Even if you are not quote unquote alcoholic, right? You can benefit from this stuff.
Exactly.
And then you can just read your portions. All right, so what we came here to talk about today was basically our thinking, right? The filter we have in our heads, and how that works. And we came from a reading that was like, what was it, last Monday?
Yeah, just a couple days ago, October 13th.
From the book 366 effing days sober.
Sober. Yes, I'm going to read it. I think this is an amazing topic for conversation because communication is everything. So October 13th, how about you listen to the words coming out of the person's mouth rather than what you think it means? As much as we like to think we know someone's thoughts and how much we think we understand what someone's intentions were/are, the truth is that we can't always trust what we think. Don't reinterpret or decipher the other person's words. Listen to what they say and let that be that. We have a way of hearing what we want to hear or reimagining what someone else thinks or says to fit our wants and needs. We do this so much that we will not only convince ourselves of something different, but we often run into trouble trying to convince others as well. The next time you catch yourself thinking, did they really mean what they said? Or she really wants this, but is just saying that, etc. These are probably good signs that you should stop and re-examine your own thought process. Reflections. Am I rewriting the words that I hear? Do I agree with reality? Daily challenge. Try to take people at their word today. Trust the words coming out of people's mouths. I love this reflection.
I think I had a really hard time in early recovery because I really thought that and I know you're going to laugh, I really thought I had my shit together. I really thought that I was smart, that I I saw everything very clearly. I just had a problem with drinking. Like, that's really where I was at. Like, man, yeah, if I could just stop drinking, everything would be great. And then I stopped drinking, and and 6-8 months later, I realized I was having conversations with my first sponsor who had 5 years at the time, and No, duh. I was having problems, Lindsay. Can you imagine? Like I was literally like having problems of like existing in the world. And every time I talked to my sponsor, it was always about her or them
Yep.
or whatever was going on in that regard. And and I would say stuff, and then my sponsor would go like in the middle of the conversation, and I'd be like, yeah, and then and she's over here doing da 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 da, and she's thinking that blah 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 blah, and I would say she's thinking blah blah blah, and then my sponsor would go, but did she say that?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, no, not exactly.
Yes.
I could tell just by the ways that she rolled her eyes when she said, do the dishes, that she really meant, I'm going to rip your nuts off, you fucking asshole, right? Like, and it's like what
Obviously.
do you mean? What do you mean? Like she rolled her eyes and then you interpreted that as whatever, right? And it was called out to me so many times in these kinds of conversations. Again,
Right.
and you only get this when you open yourself up to other people in order to be quote unquote corrected in this way, right? When you give somebody permission to talk to you like this, you'd be surprised how often it does happen, right? So that was kind of my thing, is I'm sitting there and I didn't like lose my shit when this person said, well, did she really say that? Or was that like, did your boss actually say that during the meeting? Or is that something that you interpreted differently that now like you maybe have replayed later and now have made it into something? And so I found out a lot of my trouble when it comes to these things is not getting clarification from other people, right? Not actually pushing, because I'm too afraid to ask, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to cause any confrontations or whatever, my people pleasing or whatever. So I just interpret something that's probably wrong. And then my little filter brain takes it in and then says, well, clearly I'm in the wrong, or clearly they're in the wrong. It doesn't matter. And then I make something out of nothing. And then the truth is, if I could have just asked a clarifying question of like,
Of course.
hey, what did you really mean by that? Or do you feel this way? Like if I just had the balls to just ask somebody, do you really feel this way, right? Like it would have totally cleared the air and I would have totally felt better. So I don't know about you, but like early on, that was a big hurdle for me. It was something that was really difficult to understand and to know that, like, first of all, it wasn't just the fucking drink that was my problem. I really had to move into a space of, wow, like I really do see people and circumstances very differently than what they are. And I really have to I really have to like kind of pull the veil off of that inner conversation that's going on in my head and really look at it for what it is and try to apply reality to the best of my ability. But the question was, how do you do that, right? How do you recognize it and go about that? So
well, I first want to talk a little bit more about the danger of doing that, because it's not just, oh, now my psyche's messed up because I have all these ruminating thoughts and I'm distorting reality and deleting things and my own internal representations. But then that determines how I might act in a certain situation. So let's say I'm like, this person doesn't like me because they said XYZ. And now I create a self-fulfilling prophecy for myself and I act like this person doesn't like me, and then they don't like me, right? So I also, at this point in my life, I have to take people at their word. Like I don't have time for mind reading. I don't have time to try to interpret tonality and, just tell me what you're thinking. I'll tell you what I'm thinking. And I know it's not always that simple, but it kind of can be. I'm very straightforward. I'm very reasonable. It's like, just come to me and say what the problem is. I'd rather just solve it than all this playing all these games. But so I guess, so your question was, how do I recognize if I'm starting or was in the past or still do at times, I'm sure, like recognize that I'm trying to interpret something without looking at the facts.
Yeah. Like, how do you, like when you're in those situations, I mean, early on is what I'm really after, because
Yeah,
I think one of the things is that
of
maybe
course.
it's different now because, again, you got 10 years and it kind of
Yeah.
like, it almost would happen naturally. But the fact is like, early on, like I think more to
Yeah.
the point was like, you can stay in that mode if you don't like, open yourself up to that stuff. That's why we talk about in recovery,
Oh.
like being honest, open-minded, and willing. It's like these three things
Mhm.
are like, that's part of kind of cracking the egg, right?
Yeah. How did I recognize I was doing that? Yeah, I mean, I think the same thing that you said with your sponsor asking, like, well, did they say that? And I'd always just say, oh, no, but I just know. That's how they feel, and my therapist would always ask me something about these blanket statements I would make, like he hates me or my family thinks this of me. And he'd say, what is your evidence for that? And I'd say, I just know, and like, what? So I have some supernatural, omnipresent knowledge of all. And I don't. So I guess, like, you know what, though? I couldn't just sit there and think my way out of it and think, oh, how is this becoming skewed in my mind by the way I'm interpreting it and filtering it? It was more like putting other things in my life so that those things weren't as important. Like when you start making your world big, you don't have enough time or energy or brain power to sit there for hours thinking about what that person said and how it's affecting you. Does that make sense? No,
I did have hours to sit around
but once you start building your world with different things and get out of your head and start seeing how you can contribute to life,
those things become less important to do because you're no longer chewing on that.
And because it's coming from a place of self-centeredness. It's like, how does this affect me?
Right. So I think I did nothing but. So I think you touched on something, which is the sick mind can't heal the sick mind kind of stuff.
Yes.
And that's really, I think if I was left, if I had just gotten sober and I was just left to my own devices without any interference or any other, people interfering, I would have literally continued with that way of thinking. Like, to me,
I would have killed myself because of that way of thinking.
100%, but I didn't want to go so dark. I mean, I just want to
you can only trust our word, Carl. You only have my word.
But let me just say, like, that to me was like very normal thinking. Like, what it talks about, like in Alcoholics Anonymous big book, it says like, basically that we only know like what we know, right? We only know our way of thinking and living, and we think that our way is the most sane way, basically, at some point. So because our survival, right, just kind of depended on that way of thinking sometimes. So for me, it just seemed like that way of thinking was exactly the way that everybody thought, that's just how it worked. And I did not understand any of that stuff. Not like, it is so strange to think about, like, how, like, I guess I was talking to my wife the other night, like, about like because we go through this transformation and recovery and we realize, like, oh my gosh, I am not the person that I thought that I was. I am a completely different human being than what I thought that I was. For 42 years, I thought I was this one person.
I know.
I get sober, I get into recovery, I learn all of these other ways of living and being and thinking and acting and, engaging, and like my whole world is a complete different bubble than it was before. And I go, oh my God, so for 42 years I thought I was this person, and then everything changed dramatically and like miraculously. And then I'm like, oh my God, what if I'm doing it right now? What if I am like still in this weird ass, what if it's not what I think it is right now? So that kind of like sends me down a rabbit hole. I get real philosophical, and it's like, so I just I actually get afraid of like, oh my God, what if there's like another like shift in my thinking and like, another 2 years and like, holy shit. And then I figure it all out at like 80 and then die. I'm like, God damn it.
I just cracked the code.
I just cracked the code, and now I'm gonna die. Yeah, either way.
Yeah, but I mean,
too late.
I still fall into that pattern, though. I mean, I can take one text message and right? That and fall down that rabbit hole. I probably can course correct more quickly today, but yeah, I can definitely do that. And especially with texts and emails. I mean, let's talk about that. That's a whole different thing because we're not getting any tonality or nonverbal cues so I'm going to assume the worst. With silence, I can take silence and think that I can read somebody's mind,
so, which gets me into the I guess the core of some of Carl's issues. Early in the podcast, we used to make jokes about Carl having Carl's codependency corner. We
there's a lot of alliteration.
yeah. Carl's codependency corner.
Codependent. This is all about codependency.
Yeah,
right.
Enmeshment and all the other stuff that really I learned again in ACA more about what was going on with me in terms of those things, and really. That when you read into those things, whether it be a text or whether it be silence or whether it be just whatever, sometimes it could be even just the way that the person looks. Because one thing that happens to me is I'll see a certain look of a dude and that'll remind me of somebody that was fucking totally mean to me, and then I will just take my template of who that person is and put it right on that person. And suddenly, I now know what that person's all about, right? And it's just not true. None of that is true. But the fact is I take all of that. I'm reacting basically in ultimate terms. I'm reacting to people's comments or silences or how they look, all based on very ingrained fears, the past experiences, all these things are coming into play most of the time, and I have to be on a kind of constant awareness about what's going on inside of me when I'm dealing with other people like that. Do you find how do you deal with that? How do you check in with yourself in order to realize that you're doing that stuff?
Well, also, I do want to give us some grace and forgiveness with this because a lot of it is evolutionary and we're trying to find shortcuts in our heads so that when we see someone or hear something, we're relating it to a past experience so that we don't have to overanalyze and reinvent the wheel and start from scratch, danger or distrust or whatever.
Guy with a gun does equal danger. Let's just not get that wrong, right? So understood, right? So but guy with a beard, not necessarily danger. Lindsey, think about who you're talking to right now. Think about
in my past.
Think about what this guy looks like. Just say it.
I know. I prefer beards actually.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. But so we're always constantly making those snap judgments and choosing which bits of information to take in so that we can quickly, if we had to start from scratch every single time we see someone, we wouldn't be able to get through life, right? We have to ascribe some meaning based on existing mental models and schemas. But the classic method, which there's a reason is still kind of the gold standard of today, is cognitive behavioral therapy, I think. And that's been life-changing for me, of actually writing it out. And if anyone's not familiar, I talk about it in my book, in a pretty accessible way, but identifying the thought, what triggered it, the automatic thought that you have, and then identifying if there's any distortions and if there's a more helpful way that you can think about that thought and almost like putting your thoughts on trial. What's the evidence for it? What's the evidence against it? What's another way I can reframe this? So, the example I give in my book is, the event or trigger, you would say, is I received an email from the chair of my department saying she wants to meet with me about the course I taught last semester. My automatic thought was, this is from one email, one sentence, I want to talk to you about the course you taught. When are you free? My automatic thought was, I must have done something wrong. I knew I was too late grading my students' papers. I shouldn't have been teaching. They're going to learn I'm not good at it. I'm probably in so much trouble, like just going down, just catastrophizing, which is a common cognitive distortion. And I went down that, even with all the work that I've done. And so how I tried to change that, I proceed to say the quote unquote old me would have been fearful, needing to know right away why she wants to talk to me. But now I changed the thought to, I have no idea why she wants to meet, which means it might be a bad thing. And if it is, I'll learn my lesson, which will make me a better professor in the long run. And I think you also have to look at history. Like, I've been teaching for X amount of years. Have I ever even gotten a slap on the wrist for anything?
Yeah, exactly.
No. Like when someone says they're scared they're going to fail a test, I always say, how many tests have you failed before?
Yeah.
And it's usually zero. Like if you're scared of failing a test, then you probably haven't. Because if you have, you just don't care. So not only am I reframing the thought, but how can I act differently based on that? And what I did was emailed her right away. I said, look forward to catching up. I even asked, will you be on campus so we can meet in person? I'm now changing my behavior. I didn't hide in a hole. I didn't freak out. I took opposite action. And instead of choosing fear, I just wanted to face it head on. So obviously, needless to say, she was just asking a question about the curriculum, and she was considering changing something and asked how my students received that one topic. Nothing to do with me or my performance. So that's just a quick kind of example of walking through that, right? But yeah, so that's kind of how I try to do that today. And the first step is identifying that you are doing that and noticing, right? And for me, it's now I can kind of do that in my head, which is once you practice, but I really needed to, maybe we can put a link in the show notes. I really had to start with that worksheet of like event, thought, reframe, how I'm going to act differently. And what that allows for.
If you guys want to go look up, if anybody wants to go look it up right now or whatever, there's like, it's like CBT reframing worksheet.
Perfect.
I think you guys could just like do a Google search for that, and then you'll find something else that will, fit that need. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. And it's really, and like that gives us the pause so that we can respond rather than react. And react, I don't mean like having a temper tantrum, but just reaction can be ruminating on it for the rest of the day. It doesn't even have to be outward, but that's still damaging and still harmful. So avoiding making assumptions and drawing conclusions. And usually most of the things we're worrying about are not actually even turn into being problems. So, that's kind of just wanted to bring some context to the abstraction of CBT and show you a recent event in my life where I walked through that. But talking about codependence, my therapist just told me, which I'm sure had nothing to do with my session, that there's actually something called relationship OCD. And you're obsessing about the relation. She said, if there's something going on in your relationship that you're not comfortable with, do you obsess about it all day? Like, do you think about it all day? And I'm like, absolutely. Doesn't everyone? And she said, no.
I have sponsees or I have friends that I will be able to clearly like when they're talking to me about their relationships, I'm like, I do not think about my relationship like that. It is just like, I'm like new,
That's mind-blowing.
I did it at one point. I really was. I remember like when I first got with my wife, like I was highly obsessive about our relationship. And then I was jealous. I was accusatory. I wanted to like freaking control and own and like all the other things that like go along with that. And then I don't know what it got to a point, but I saw what I was doing. And even this is like even before I really got more heavily drinking, but I checked out of that noise. And I even though I would think it at times, I would stop. I would not verbalize it anymore because I could see the damage that I was causing. And it was terrible.
Wow.
Yeah,
how did you do that?
Absolutely. I felt like I literally refused it for like a long time, and then of course the alcohol helped. So
okay, I'm gonna write that one down.
Yeah. So no, just management. Hey, I did want to bring up, like, you talked about CBT, but then you also talked about cognitive distortions, like later on in your chapter on SHED. Right?
Yeah.
Like there's chapter 3 that you have, and you just have like this bulleted list that we could literally spend the next 4 hours discussing just these bullets alone. But I want to throw these out there for people so that maybe they're like, if they're looking again and they're hitting their Google search, that they actually could type some of these things up to come to a better understanding for relating to this topic, which is you have dichotomous thinking, and I'm not going to read all these out, but it's like dichotomous thinking is like things are like, in two mutually exclusive categories, and like there's no shades in between. It's kind of like black and white thinking, right? That kind of stuff. What do you have? Overgeneralization, talking isolated cases and using them to make wide generalizations, which she always does that or whatever.
So an example of that with the example I just used, just for overgeneralization, because that was a good one. Like, I took that email and was like, I shouldn't be teaching at all. Right? Yeah. So that's an example of how it looks. Yeah.
And then selective abstractions. So you focus exclusively on certain, usually negative or upsetting aspects of something while ignoring the rest, which is like, how many people don't do that stuff? Disqualifying the positive, that's kind of like the opposite.
Right.
So mind reading, which we talked about a little bit. Fortune telling, you said that, like, I just have a gut feeling. I know that it's going to happen or whatever. Minimization. So what else? Catastrophizing, you talked about. Emotional reasoning. This is like where you basically, I feel a certain way versus like what has happened. Like you've already talked about that a little bit. Should statements, concentrating on what you think should or ought to be rather than the actual situation you're faced with, which I really love, because that's just like to me, it's like, I did this a lot around work and stuff like that. So I'll get into that. But personalization, blame, or attribution, meaning like assuming you are completely or directly responsible for a negative outcome when applied to others consistently, the blame is the distortion. So I think that has like a lot to do with more like codependency, like thinking that you're responsible for those things and stuff like that. So, but the should statements I really want to point out, I really love this one. Like, cause I was just talking to a friend the other day and we were talking about work, and the best part is like, I would talk to my sponsor about work, my sponsor, John, but I still want to cry like every time I talk about him. I just love that man. So he would say stuff like, the best part is like, I would talk about shit going on at work, and I go, they should be doing this, they should be doing that, and and blah, 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 and they don't even do this and da da da. And then John would say, Carl, if you own the company, it would be like that. But how true is that statement? Right? And how understanding of what is within your control and what is not in your control is that statement, right?
And how invalidating.
Right? Like, because I'm over here thinking that if everything should be this way, it should be.
It just minimizes it so much. Like those moments when we're like, like I ain't got nothing.
So, just to be clear, like there's a lot going on in the world with the news, with politics, with like, whatever it is, right? And you got to ask yourself, like, well, how much can you impact or affect? Like, because if there's always people like, oh, we should be doing this, we should be doing that, we should be going to foreign wars or whatever the hell it is that you are shouldn't out there. Now ask yourself, like, well, if it was your decision, it would be very different, wouldn't it? Right? But it's not. So there you go.
Here we are. Yeah.
Exactly.
And that just goes back to like accepting what I cannot change and identifying. And what really has helped me, which I think is a life hack, because I usually use the should statements towards myself. Like I should be doing more. I should be doing this. And
you're kind of attacking yourself, or?
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure I use them towards other people, but it's more like me being self-critical and should. And I have changed. Someone told me to change my shoulds to coulds, and it has been life-changing.
Oh, wow.
So let's say I'm saying I should be writing more. I say I could be writing more. And then that gives
not,
me,
because I'm a piece of shit. That's where I go.
no, but like the could just allows for so much more possibility. Like, oh, okay, now I have a choice, where I should doesn't give me any action or possibility. It's just I should be doing that and I'm not. So
There's no opportunity in should. There is just literally shut down. That's really what it sounds like.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, I just think could is such a nicer way of putting it, and a more constructive way too.
Yeah. It's reframing our thinking and trying to like really apply like a different thing. So, but now I also want to note, where did you get that from? Where did that come from? Like, where did hey, reframe it instead of, you didn't think of that, right?
No.
That came from somebody else, right?
Correct.
So it's like, I think a lot of the times, I've been reading on like Reddit, recovery without AA, right? Just like in the forum, just trying to catch a different view of like what people are perceiving in recovery. And what I see a lot is a lot of angry people. By the way, I just like, so, but I see a lot of good independent thinking, right? I see a lot of good, like, again, but I did that for so long too. So when I see these people, I kind of wonder, like, I see them almost like shut down and close down, like, other thoughts or methods or, examples. Maybe sometimes they're open to like other modalities, other recovery modalities, smart recovery, rational recovery, refuge, all that stuff, right? So I see them open to those types of things sometimes, but for the most part, I see a real independent, closed off, like secluded experience about their recovery, and that is kind of like, I know the feeling, because I did that I struggled with that for years. Like, if I wanted to like stop, I was done with AA. I didn't want anything to do with that kind of thinking. But that's kind of the thing I wanted to push here, or, emphasize, which is like, we need to, like, I don't care if it's a therapist. I don't care if it's a loved one. I don't care if it's somebody else in recovery. I don't care if it's like a really like, wise neighbor. I don't know. The fact is like, we don't get these things just by sitting at home watching TV. It's just not how that works. I don't get it from watching Seinfeld, on Netflix. I just don't.
You don't?
No. I mean, I'll look at it as no soup for you.
Exactly.
So you see what I'm saying? Like, there's a certain amount of like engagement that you kind of have to push yourself for. And whether it be like a podcast like this, or whether it be something else like out in the world. But if you're in an environment where you're just kind of like in the same, you're not being challenged, you're not being pushed, you're not being questioned, or, again, my first sponsor, it was like, what a wonderful gift to give somebody, to say, like, just to ask the question, did she really say that? Or is that all in your head? Right? Basic kind of stuff. Like, to have the compassion enough to ask somebody else that, you have to be exposed to an environment and a community of people to kind of think, to even think that way, because a lot of us just let our friends go by and be like, we let them say that shit, and we just let them vent, or we let them imagine that stuff, and we don't challenge that at all. But when you're in those environments with those kinds of communities, it really does open you up to a whole different way of thinking. And that's kind of where I'm at. Like, what do you say to that person who is like, because basically what I'm asking you is, what do you say to Carl of 41 years of age, who is shitting blood because of his drinking, but he's refusing to reach out for help and connect with another person? Because that's what I was doing, right? Like, I wanted desperately to, like, I wanted answers. I thought that they were all inside my head. And the truth was, that was the thing that was causing me more pain, and I didn't know that. So what would you say to that person?
What I say to anyone who's contemplating reaching out for help or not, if you like the way things are going in your life, don't change anything. If you don't, change something and see what happens. I mean, that's really, I don't think we just stumble into meetings or therapist's office or, by accident. We're looking for something or we're wanting something to change. Nothing changes if nothing changes.
Yeah.
So when people are like, I don't know. It's like, keep doing what you're doing. It's your world. So that's what I would say. I would say, are you comfortable with your life? You would probably say, no, these are my problems. And I would say, do you want to change them? And you say yes or no. And if you say yes, then how about trying something different? Really?
How about trying something different? Yeah. There's a, in therapy, like they have reflective listening, for instance, right? Like you go and you a lot of the times, you repeat back what somebody said just to get them to hear it. That kind of
so it's
thing.
called motivational interviewing. Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
So Lindsey, do you want to do an example right now? I think that'd be fun.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. So let me get a problem in my life. Ready? Let's just try it.
Yeah.
Let's just try it. Does it have to be with somebody else, or can it be my own shit?
Whatever you want.
I suppose it would be. I suppose it'd be my own shit. Ready? I'm really I'm having a hard time focusing, and I really need to get back to my desk and actually be hands-on with my work and make more time for my work. It is really difficult to sit there and just hang in with this work, especially because if it's boring, right? It has no interest or no additional learning. I'm like, oh my, it's almost like I could literally fall asleep at my desk, but instead I get distracted, or I go off and I do other things, or I'm like, oh, I just need another cup of tea, or I need some water, or oh, my dogs need taken care of. You know what I mean? I do all this stuff. What did you hear in all that just now? What did you hear?
So I'm hearing that
think about reflective listening,
active listening. Yeah, I'm hearing that you'd like to perform at a higher level, and to do that, you need to reduce the distractions. I'm hearing that it's interfering with your functioning and how much work you're getting done. So, are you interested in changing that behavior?
Yes, but I'm not willing to do it.
Goodbye. I'm kidding. And you know what? My next question
just like
would
that,
be,
right?
My next question would be, what's the payoff of staying stuck? What's the payoff of continuing this behavior?
Right. There's no payoff in continuing this behavior, right? It's absolute. Mm-hmm. It's detrimental. To be honest, it is actually the payoff of changing the behavior would be that I am now free. Instead of languishing on laborious work, I would then be free of the laborious work if I just got it done in order to do the more interesting and engaging work, right? So, but I know that. But I'll tell you, it is a thing that messes with you. So, Lindsey, do you have something similar?
A problem? I have no problems, Carl. I have no problems.
Of course not. You're perfect.
Yeah, I guess for me, it's this similar to what you're saying, but I'm a visionary. So I'll get really excited about a new project or all these possibilities. And I feel like my mind's in all these places at once, but it deters me from picking one thing and really committing to that. So even though it's great to be a dreamer, I feel that I need to sometimes keep my feet on the ground and pick a door and walk through it and follow that to its fruition. So, but it's all exciting and it's all good ideas. So in my mind, so what do you hear there? What could I be doing differently?
I hear that you are looking for you have multiple things that you're definitely excited about, but you really are having a hard time picking which one that excites you more, and whatever those things are that you weigh in terms of yeah, I don't know that, but
Yeah.
it sounds to me like you really need to prioritize what your next big thing is, because you say I'm a dreamer, so I could hear that part of it. So you really just need to pick that one thing and learn and put the others aside and focus on the one big thing that is probably your best. So I would imagine what you would need to do is write it out, pros and cons. Which ones do you want to attack first? Which one is more exciting? Which one has the best potential, or which one builds upon those other things that maybe you're going to put aside? Yeah. So yeah, that kind of stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you
Does
have
that
it.
answer your question? So that active listening and like hearing that stuff with somebody else, I just say, how does it feel? Because I tell you how it feels for me is it feels like, like I almost like have this partner, right? Just now, like we just engaged in our lives together in such a positive way that says, all right, like I now feel almost accountable to Lindsey on some level. Because I am like, Lindsey, me and Lindsey talked about that, and now there's almost like this accountability. And every time I see Lindsey, I'm going to be thinking about, like, I should really focus on my work, because that's going to help me achieve better things. So now every time I'm in touch with Lindsey, for whatever reason, that's just how the connections work in the universe. Now I have a much more positive, experience away from Lindsey and when I'm with Lindsey. Does that make sense? Like there's some certain amount of accountability going on. So
Definitely. And the key to that is we had to be open about and vulnerable about something that we're struggling with, which I wouldn't even gotten to that point before I started doing all of this recovery stuff. And after that venting about our problem or being vulnerable, we then had to listen to what someone else had to say, and maybe then we'll apply it, right? So there's a lot of different steps here that we need to acknowledge, but it starts by sharing. It starts by being open.
And me sitting in front of a mirror or
it just doesn't do it.
On the
I tried.
Yeah, no, it's like
we both, let me tell you this, Carl and I both want to be in our rooms by ourselves, figuring out how to fix ourselves. Like that after enough conversations with you, that's what our original plan was. And if we were still doing that, we'd both probably be dead. So connection, no man is an island. We need connection to relate and to hear ourselves in other people's stories so that we have a chance of changing ours.
It's so funny. For a long time in recovery, part of my spiritual understanding, I guess, if we're gonna go there, is that I really needed these other people in my life, and that was part of the actual spirituality. Is that like I absolutely kind of like when I envision it in my brain, or I try to like meditate and pull back, I almost just see lines like connecting people and how it works.
Oh, it's like a web.
Yeah. And I just really do need that experience in my life. And if you talk to my current sponsor, he would tell you the exact same thing. Like, he just says it to me like this. It's like, Carl, you need to get out of the house. You need people. You need to connect. That's where you get energy. That's where you thrive. And you just need to go do that. And as much as like, because if I'm in a real shit state and I'm, and this is a really good indicator. You all listen. If you all listen to these podcasts, you'll know if I'm really having a bad day by my cuss count. If I'm up to 120 cusses in an hour, as Lindsey has pointed out in the past. Like, so as soon as I get on the phone, I'll be talking to my sponsor, and we'll just be talking about life and stuff, and just the birds and the bees. Not the birds and the bees. We'll be talking about like the neighborhood or what's going on, and if I slip in a lot of F-bombs, he'll kind of pull it out. He's like, and he'll just ask a question of like, how did you go anywhere this week? Are you getting out of the house? Like, you know what I mean? Like stuff like that. And just
that's
really
your
that. So
litmus test. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of part of it. It's like, because I think I'm always in my own head. Like most people listening, probably. I'm always in my own mind. I have this conversation going on that's always kind of recreating reality on a constant basis. It's like it's thinking and rethinking and then feeling and refeeling. So there's all that kind of stuff that goes on. And without outside influence, it's just the washing machine. It just can. And we've talked about this in other episodes. It's kind of like that K-Fuck radio kind of stuff, but this is a little different. Yeah. This is actually stuff that is like, we're literally trying to reinterpret reality. The sounds that come in from the outside into the filter that we now recontextualize or we put into like a different framework that is not reality. And that is a really weird sense. I mean, so I don't know how to stress to people more that, you need to seek, outside, counsel in order to deal with the inside crazy, so especially as it relates to people who have been drinking and secluded, isolated, and in their own shit for so long that they really do not know the true from the false, So, Lindsey, do you think we beat this topic up? Has it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great kind of capsule of, there's so many different directions we could go, and elaborate on just one of these distortions could be its own episode. But bottom line is you do have the power of not only choosing what's getting through that filter and what you're focusing on, but then how you are, what you're deleting, distorting, and generalizing, and what the internal representation becomes for you. And what a beautiful mechanism to be able to change how we look at the world, because everyone does have a different reality, truly. And you can help frame what that looks like for you. And that might sound overwhelming, but it's also very freeing and very hopeful.
There you go. So, Lindsey, I do want to remind everybody to utilize the resources that we offer.
Yeah.
Again, going to the websites, that going to your classes. If you're local in the what is it, the tri, what is it, something, the tri area? What do you call it?
The DMV. If you're in the DMV,
if you're local in the DMV,
come to Baby Cat Brewery.
Go see Lindsey.
This sobriety podcast has been sponsored by Baby Cat Brewery.
No, it hasn't. It really hasn't. But
it hasn't.
But don't forget to go to the website, SoberPod.com, the SpiritVigilante.com, buy the books, and do what you can out there to get more engaged with your mind. And again, these are the resources, and this involves reaching out, connecting out, being part of a community. And I don't care what it is, calling your sponsor, calling your therapist. Again, I don't care if it's a higher power or hire a therapist, as long as you are staying active and staying sober, you're headed in the right direction. There you go. All right, Lindsey, any final words?
I mean, my final words are trust your truth.
And my final words are stay active, stay sober. See ya.
See ya.
SoberPod.com. Yeah. It was a sight to see him. Breakfast with Sprite and Seagrams. Wrestling with my vices, exercising my demons. My blessings were blocked, so I never got the message. I'm stressing, I'm only 12 steps from an exit. Regret it, because my imperfections were perfected. I ain't run from it, I accept it and rep it. It's a badge to me, good stories come from a tragedy. And when you survive, the glory will come in Act 3. The wait's over, 366 days sober. Morning affirmations that can start the day for you. Use my favorite bookmark for a placeholder. Finish when the day's over. Okay. Yeah, SoberPod, keep it authentic, no facades. If it's real, then you know it's ours. Welcome.